Well, hello and welcome to the Old Classic Car channel, and today's brochure review is a fantastic original publication for Ford commercial vehicles, printed in December 1935. The price list stuck in the back is for January 1936, but this was printed at the end of the year before. I found this, I think it was at a car boot sale of all places, and being a fan of classic lorries, pickups, vans, etc., I was just blown away by this old survivor, really. The cover features a Ford Model Y, the 500 weight van, which appears within this brochure, and also an old coal lorry, which I think is a 2-ton Fordson BBE Ford Control with a flathead V8 in it. This was obviously a coal truck. And what I find interesting is the sliding opening roof. Now, I'm sure this isn't just meant to be a sunroof. My guess, and I'm hoping some lorry people might be able to advise me on this, that this was perhaps to aid with loading when pulling up perhaps to a loading chute or something like that, so you could actually see where you were parking up in order to get a load in the back of the vehicle. But if someone can tell me a bit more about the reason for these open sliding roofs, I'd be very interested to hear. So let's just have a quick look inside. This is like a very heavy cardboard cover, so let's see what we can find in here. It's a little delicate, so that's why I'm being gentle with the opening the pages. So this was actually issued by Emerson's Motors Limited of Sandyford Road, Newcastle on Tyne. If anyone knows anything about this garage, I'd be interested to hear. They've obviously amended their phone number. Someone's penciled a 2 in front of 5312. But let's see what Ford had to say about their commercial vehicle range for the mid-1930s. Ford provides the answer to today's transport problems. New restrictions, keener competition throw into still greater prominence the advantages of Ford design. The slow and cumbersome vehicle is handicapped, but Ford Motor Company, pioneers of the powerful lightweight vehicle, offer bigger savings than ever before in tax, time and running costs. This catalogue shows the universal scope of Ford utility vehicles. There is a Ford for every payload from 500 weight to 5 tons, on which a body type for any operating condition can be fitted. The Ford dealer will show you what a Ford can do with your loads on your own roads. There are Ford dealers everywhere. Investigate Ford Transportation now. And this was obviously produced by Fords down at Dagenham. So we carefully open up here. And to begin with, we have the 500 weight van, which will be familiar to anyone who knows their Ford Model Ys and their sidevalve Fords. So before we look at this page, opposite is the specification for the Ford 500 weight van commercial chassis. I won't go into it in too great a depth, but it's a 4-cylinder engine, the 8-horse side valve unit, which was 933cc side valve, same as a Ford Model Y car, 6-volt electrics, 3-speed gearbox and so on, and a very simple chassis arrangement which will be familiar to anyone who's got an interest in the old sit-up and beg side valve Fords of the 30s right through to 1950s. In fact, anyone even with a Ford Pop will recognise a lot of what's going on here, with the very simple chassis and torque tube assembly to the rear axle. So let's just have a quick look at the Ford 500 weight van a little closer. I've already done a brochure review on the Ford E83Ws and the slightly later post-war 500 weight vans, the E04C, but this is the Model Y based vehicle of the mid-1930s. Even Ford offers no more remarkable value than the 500 weight van. There's 4 foot 3 inch of length, 50 cubic feet of loading space behind the driver. Owners regularly run for tens of thousands of miles with nothing more than ordinary maintenance attention. It is undeniably the best looking and most up-to-date vehicle of its type, yet every item of cost is low. The van has a smooth, powerful engine for speedy work with full loads, synchronized gear change, unique Ford springing, simple controls and complete equipment including electric lighting and starting, spare wheel, etc. The chassis includes a host of features made for easy maintenance, lasting silence and long life. It is built to carry a load of 500 weight. And I mean, this is a lovely colour illustration of a typical Ford 500 van. Down below we've got a cutaway drawing of the 8-horse side valve engine, the 3-speed gearbox and the rear axle. These are just lovely little vehicles, I think. There's very few of them survived, and those that do are very cherished by their owners, I think. So let's just carry on and see what other gems Ford had on offer at the end of 1935 and into 1936. And here we have the 8-cylinder 1500 weight Ford van. If we just go over to this page first, a couple of illustrations showing the rear doors and the very tall load space, wooden strips inside the back, wooden flooring, and nice large side panels there, just ripe for a spot of sign writing. 8-cylinder engine. This was the old V8 Ford flathead, the 30 horse, not brake horsepower, but the RAC horsepower rating, just over 30 horse, which related to the taxation on the vehicles at the time. 3.6 litre engine, and there was a 22 horse version as well. Again, the 3-speed gearbox. So let's have a look at the artwork and illustrations for the 1500 weight van with a side valve V8. A new Ford vehicle, opening out fresh possibilities of delivering efficiency and speedy, up-to-date service in scores of trades, is introduced in the 1500 weight van with the 8-cylinder engine. The performance resulting from the powerful and efficient 8-cylinder unit is of the greatest possible value under present-day road conditions. Its acceleration from a standstill or from frequent crawls necessitated by traffic congestion is superior to that of all but a few private cars. What this means in time saving without exceeding legal speed can only be appreciated by testing the 8-cylinder 1500 weight van against older types of delivery vehicles of similar capacity. Whatever the duty, house-to-house calls in a restricted area, point-to-point journeys in traffic, or long-distance transport, it will be seen to score heavily, enabling more calls to be made in a given time, handling from 25 to 50% more merchandise every day. So there we go, spoked wheels, nice, like I say, just right for a spot of sign writing. The spare wheel sits on the running board, which is shown here. This one has a metal covering over the spare wheel, perhaps that was an option. Great looking vehicles, I think, and very neat at the back as well. How many of these survive I don't know, but there can't be too many. There's very sort of American influenced styling in evidence here. So let's crack on. And obviously the 500 weight and the 1500 weight are referred to as Fords. The lighter vehicles were called Fords. The Thames didn't come along till after the war, much later, into the 1950s in fact. So the lighter vehicles were badged as Ford. And now we're up to the Fordson 3-ton 8-cylinder truck. And this is a handsome machine indeed. And again, we've got the specification and the chassis details over here. 8 cylinders, 2 banks of 4 cylinders at 90 degrees. Again, RAC rated, 30 horsepower. This had a 4-speed gearbox fitted to the 3.6 litre engine. It's obviously designed for heavier work all round, 3-ton rated. Let's see what we have to say about this. The Fordson 3-ton truck is designed as a general utility vehicle for maximum economy of operation, unfailing reliability and ease of maintenance. It's built in 2 wheelbase lengths, a short 10-foot 11.5-inch wheelbase for heavy compact loads and a long 13-foot 1-inch wheelbase for light but bulky loads. Alternative rear axle ratios are also available. So here we have an all-metal cab, because of course some still had ash frames and much more oldie-worldy construction methods, if you like. And in this particular example has the twin rear wheels and the drop-side wooden rear body. What a great looking truck that is, or lorry rather. Here we've got the 4-speed gearbox shown, a bit of information about the cooling system on the V8, and the front suspension with a transverse leaf spring. So that's the Fordson 3-ton 8-cylinder truck. Interesting, they call them trucks, whereas in this country the commercial vehicles were typically referred to as lorries, but maybe this is just a hint of its American origins perhaps. So let's carry on. So that was the 3-ton V8. Now we have the vehicle that was shown on the cover So this is the 2-ton forward control chassis, which you can see it's got the snub-nosed front. Forward control literally means that the engine is tucked between the driver and the passenger seats, giving a very short front, meaning that of the overall length of the vehicle, the maximum amount possible is used for carrying the load. So like I say, this is the model that appeared in the artwork on the cover with this sliding opening roof, which I'd love to know more about. Over there is the specification. This shows a chassis cab ready to be bodied with whatever bodywork the customer needed. Let's have a look at 8 cylinders, again the side valves and all the other information there, should you be interested. 4 forward speeds, etc, etc. Ford brakes acting on all 4 wheels, 14-inch drums, 600 by 20 tyres and twin wheels at the back. And the overall wheelbase was 118 inches. Let's have a look at the artwork, because that's the real highlight of this particular brochure. Again, another fantastic looking little truck. The cab reminds me very much of the Fordson V8, which was produced either side of World War II, so this actually predated the 7V slightly, but you can see where the 7V got its cab styling from. But this has a little snub front on it, big lamps and so on. Let's see what Ford had to say about their forward control Fordson 2-ton truck. Intended for the transport of bulky materials requiring increased platform space. The driver is housed in a cab of liberal proportions, provided with a sliding roof, winding windows and a comfortably upholstered seat. The petrol tank, which has a capacity of 16 gallons, is fitted to the side of the chassis. The instrument panel includes speedometer, petrol gauge and ammeter, and the control switches for the electrical equipment. The rear axle is fully floating and twin rear wheels are standard. A very large fuel tank, and again wooden dropside body is shown in this particular example. We've got a little illustration there of how easy it is to remove the engine, because engine changes were not unusual back in those days. We've got the steering gear and front suspension arrangements, and also the rear drive shaft details. So that's the Fordson 2-ton forward control chassis, which was the model BBE, if I remember correctly. 4-speed, 6-volt electric still. So let's see what delights await over here. And here we have a fantastic illustration of the 8-cylinder forward control Fordson 2-ton van, again based on the BBE chassis. There's a rear view, back doors open, and again the rear 3/4 view, showing what a great potential there was for lovely old sign writing to be applied to this particular body. No windows in the rear doors, unusually. Let's have a look over here and see what information we're given. Full advantage has been taken of the present taxation system and schedule of speed limits in the design of the Fordson 2-ton forward control van. It weighs well below 2 tons and laden, and thus falls into the £25 per annum tax capacity. It can operate at the maximum legal speed of 30 miles an hour, as against the 20 miles an hour, which is the legal limit of vehicles weighing over 2.5 tons unloaded. Which must make quite a difference to the operator of this particular vehicle. Being able to run up to 30 as opposed to 20 maximum would make quite a difference. The employment of the powerful but economical 8-cylinder engine enables a van to take full advantage of these conditions. Fully loaded, it has acceleration and maximum speed unusual for a vehicle of its capacity. Because of this performance, it may usually replace a larger, heavier and more expensive truck with great savings in cost, and it provides the maximum ton mileage for any given expenditure. And there we have an illustration of the cab, again very 7V like, rear axle and the steering gear. But I think these, the pre-war vans and commercial vehicles, lorries, trucks, whatever, I just think they're fantastic looking things, and they're so rare to find now. They're so thin on the ground that you go to a classic lorry show now and it's nearly always post-war vehicles. There are so few of these turning up at shows now, which just reflects that commercial vehicles often got a lot of stick, a lot of hammer, and they just didn't survive. And especially so many of them would have been lost during the war as well, that any of these to survive will be a very unusual sight now. So let's just carry on a little bit more. And again, the familiar BBE style cab on the Fordson Surrey six-wheeler, twin axles at the back. Another fantastic looking machine, again with a wooden dropside body. Details over here as per normal, 8-cylinder as usual, 81.5 brake horsepower, so it's still the flathead V8, but the power output is 81.5 brake horsepower, 3,700 revolutions per minute. Detachable cylinder heads, 2 blocks of 4 cylinders cast integrally with upper half of crankcase. That's all the usual details here, fuel system, exhaust, ignition and so on. Lighting system, black finish headlamps fitted with anti-dazzle lenses and Ford parabolic side lamps. Automatic stoplight incorporated in the tail lamp, singular. Lighting switch in the centre of the steering wheel. We've got an electric horn, 4-speed gearbox, and all the other information that someone considering buying one of these old Fordsons would need. But yeah, again, just a stunning looking vehicle. Do any of these survive, I wonder? The Fordson Surrey six-wheeler with single drive has proved that it meets the need for a strong but fast and economical vehicle to carry 5-ton payloads on normal roads. Tax, petrol consumption and all running costs are the minimum for a vehicle of its capacity, yet every detail speaks of enduring strength. The unique suspension system is that employed for the Fordson Sussex. It gives steadiness at all road speeds, whatever the load, and its efficiency is increased by the special device for maintaining correct tracking of the rear axles, which relieves the main springs of side loads. So some interesting details going on there, and again, the sliding opening roof. Interesting. So onwards we go. Gently, gently. Ooh. And here, the staples are so delicate. Here we have the 8-cylinder Ford control Fordson Sussex six-wheeler. This one looks like animal transport, horse box, cattle perhaps, something like that, sheep, etc. Specifications on the other side, as is the norm. And photographs of a cattle truck here, showing segregation of small beasts. Unloading the top deck, so you've got double decker, large horned cattle unloaded with ease. The exclusive features of the Fordson Sussex double drive six-wheeler have won for it a unique place amongst vehicles designed to operate under cross-country conditions. The special construction of the bevel drive centre axle gives a balanced through drive to the rear axle, eliminating wheel spin and loss of power whatever the inequalities of the surface. The springing is designed for the roughest country usage, giving remarkable steadiness and freedom from side roll. The rear axles are kept in track by a special device which also relieves the springs of side loads. So again, tri-axle six-wheeler, and again a beautiful looking old lorry. And over here we have something a little different. This is the Ford Tug, which is back to the side valve 8 horsepower 22 brake horsepower engine. And this again should be familiar to fans of the lightweight Ford 8s and 10s of the pre-war years. The Ford Tug has been designed to meet the need for a distributing unit which is economical in cost, running and maintenance charges, and which has unusual manoeuvrability. The Ford Tug can be used in many ways as a tractive unit for railway depots and for internal factory use. The Ford Tug for pulling 2 or 4-wheel trailer is capable of carrying a payload of up to 2 tons. It's an excellent unit for refuse collection and any trade where multiple trailers can be employed. When used with light 2-wheel trailers equipped with simple automatic pickup, considerable economy can be affected by eliminating idle time. Certainly an intriguing little machine. 3 wheels to the main cab, articulated with a wooden dropside body on this particular example, and here It shows its great manoeuvrability, very similar to the old Scammell Scarabs and such like of the 1930s. Like I say, this brochure was printed at the end of 1935 for the January 1936 sales month, and the similarities with the Ford Model Y and the Model Y van, the 500 weight, can clearly be seen here. A real rarity. Do any of these survive at all? I've read about them on and off in the Ford Sidevalve Owners Club magazines over the years, but I don't know, do any of these actually survive into preservation? Hopefully, if you could let me know in the comments, and that would be great. We'll carry on over here. And that's it for the list of particular makes and models that were available for the 1936 season. We've just got some general details on Ford's exchange engine plan, because engine swaps were pretty common fare back in the day. It shows here the owner drives his vehicle into the dealer's service station. That was at 2 p.m. At 3 p.m. the engine is taken out and replaced by a factory reconditioned and guaranteed engine unit. And by 6 p.m, in 4 hours, the vehicle is on the road again, ready for another long life of service. So that would satisfy any fleet operator who didn't want any downtime, or no excessive downtime, when the engine needed replacing in his particular lorry. All the details are there on that particular service. And over here we just have a little bit of an intro into the Ford works down at Dagenham, because previously Fords had been constructed at their Trafford Park works. The Model AA, for example, was built down there. The Ford works at Dagenham, 12 miles from London, on the marshy wastes of Essex. It's a factory which has set almost the entire world talking. And they obviously go into all the details of the on-site facilities, the blast furnace and so on. So that's all jolly splendid. Back here, a little bit more information about Ford themselves, and the model and prices, ex-works, for the vehicles that feature in this particular brochure. I won't read them all out, but it starts off with a 500 weight van at £100 in primer, and works upwards through the range, the 8 tons, or the 8 cylinder 2 tons, 3 tons, and so on, the Sussex 6-wheelers and all the other models in between. This is dated January 1936, and over here somewhere we have, it's just some chassis dimensions, so I won't worry too much about that. But yeah, that's the price list for January 1936 for the Ford range of commercial vehicles. And on the back we have very little. So I hope that was of interest. I've got a real soft spot for old commercial vehicles, lorries and such like myself. And when I found this brochure, an original brochure, I was over the moon, to say the least. I'd love to see your comments in the comment section below this video, if possible, if you're also interested in these pre-war lorries, trucks, vehicles, vans, pickups, etc. It'd be great to hear from you and read about what you're working on yourself. Do many of the vehicles featured in this Ford brochure survive? I'm sure there are a few 500 weight vans around, but as you get to the larger vehicles, which often lead really hard working lives, do any of them survive? Do any of these BBEs, for example, survive with a sliding opening roof? Or the Sussex 6-wheelers? I'd love to hear from you if you've any experience of these particular vehicles or know of any that survive to this day.